we're going to start today by talking about the main thing that we're all concerned about is where's the money come from when it comes to retirement. And
Right.
I've got a list here from Investopedia, and it says here's where people get their income in retirement. So 30% comes from Social Security, 27% comes from part-time work. I thought that was kind of interesting. 23% coming from pensions and savings, 12% coming from asset income. Okay, so what that means to me is only 12% of people's money is dedicated to making them money. And so, I mean, if you've got a good Social Security and you got a pension and you got a part-time job, maybe you don't need to make your money work that hard. But 12%, I wanted to ask you, that seems like a low number to me, Jay. What is that? Is that low? Is that common? Is that uncommon? What do you see there?
A part-time job isn't guaranteed income technically, but let's say it's not relying on the stock market, right?
Right.
I mean, it's your own kind of labor, your own kind of effort. If you lost that job, you could probably find another part-time job somewhere. The top three sources are kind of some form of guaranteed income.
Yeah, they are in a way.
Right?
Yeah, they truly are.
Yeah. And it kind of tells the story of what do people live off in retirement and what do they prefer to live off in retirement? Like the reason that 12% is so low for the assets is especially as people get more into retirement. So like we see this all the time. People retire, they've done a great job with their 401k, it's growing, they've been investing, and they're in that mindset, right? They haven't really pivoted. They haven't done that 180 of going from work-life mindset to retirement mindset, and the assets are just there, it's growing, and then you're going to get a correction at some point. Like every year, it's very common to have a couple of 5% drawdowns and a 10% drawdown, even inside of a bull market. And they get one of those, and it's like, whoa, wait a second. I'm not contributing to this anymore, so I'm drawing it down as well instead of contributing it. And what if I have to draw down during one of these 10% or worse markets, and we get into what's called a sequence of return risk, and the mindset starts to change. So the 12% being where it is, it's not that surprising.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from you is this. People will spend their Social Security. People will spend the money that they have coming in from a job. People will spend their pension money, but they're a little hesitant to spend that 401k money. So that kind of tells us what mindset people are in.
Well, because with those examples that you just gave, the part-time job, Social Security, pensions, and you could do pension/guaranteed income products someone set up themselves, right? Once they got out of work. When you spend that money, what's happening the next month?
You get more.
With your investments, what's happening the next month?
You don't know. It could go up, could go down, could go static.
Well, there's your answer. That's why it's easy to spend that stuff is like, I spend it, I drain that part. All right, well, I spent a little bit too much too quickly this month, so I got to just chill out till it hits my account next month, and then it will be back again. With your variable investments, let's call it, your equities, your bonds, your managed money is what we call it in the industry, right? I think you should have some of that. Absolutely. You should have some growth in your plan. Should you be relying on that every month? It doesn't make most people very comfortable.
So 401ks and Roths and Roth conversions. You know, people say, I don't want to be in that tax time bomb that they talk about. So I'm going to start moving some of this money from the tax deferred place to the tax free place. Well, there's an article in Market Watch that says this. If you are going to do this movement from your 401k over to a Roth, you're making a lot of assumptions. You're assuming the taxes are going to go up. You're assuming how long you're going to live. You're assuming that your investment returns will be this or that. And you're assuming what inflation will be. And according to the article, you're just assuming too much. And this is kind of a risky move. So what would be your answer to that one, Jay?
It's not wrong. Is it a little bit more of an art than a science? I would say, yeah. There's all those variables that we don't know. Having said that, there are also some things that are clearly wrong to do with Roth conversions, right? I'll give you an example of a situation we had recently. I was working on this case with one of the advisors. We had someone set a meeting with us, and this was his concern. It wasn't, do I have enough money? Because he was very well set up with that. It was now, how do I make sure I do the right things in retirement with the investment? And the big thing was the tax question. And one of the first questions we always ask is, you've got an advisor, why are you here talking to us? Conversation and bringing ideas, and I never get any ideas brought to me, and I've got this tax nuclear bomb coming down the pipeline at me. And I'm trying to get ahead of it. He's on the younger side because he's still working. He's not going to retire for 2 or 3 more years. And so his situation is they're both working. They do really well. They're making something like $700,000 between them. I mean, who wouldn't want to be in their shoes? They've got about $5 million in tax-deferred accounts. And we say tax-deferred accounts, it's 401ks, it's IRAs, it's all this sort of stuff. Great problem to have, a problem nonetheless. And what he's seeing is, fast forward me 3, 4, 5 years, whatever you want to put the timeline at, and I'm just going to have taxes nonstop until I die, right? So he's trying to get ahead of that. And so we said, well, what have you done so far? He's like, well, the only recommendation they've given me is to do a Roth conversion. So like now, while he and his wife are still working. And he said, and I said, well, how many of those have you done? He's like, well, I've done $100,000 conversion for each of the past, I can't remember if he said 2 or 3 years. And kind of the conversation went, there's all these variables coming up.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, that decision was not the right decision.
Yeah, I mean, you're adding that on to his big income already. That's a problem.
Stacking $100,000 on top of very high income earners already.
Yeah.
There's plenty of other options and maybe right answers. That's definitely a wrong one. Right?
Well, the other alternative is to do nothing, and if you do nothing, you're still going to be in a tax problem, right?
Yeah, but think about this guy, right? He was 57, I think he was. He's going to work for another few years. They're not going to be on $600,000-700,000 in retirement income, like they're just not, right? Just without even doing much advanced planning. Is there an opportunity coming down the road in the next few years where we could do this at least a little bit more efficiently? I would say so.
Yeah.
Right? And that's without even really kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of the whole thing. That's an easy one right away. So when people talk about Roth conversions, is there a definite right options? There's too many variables for you to know if it's a definite right options. Are there some definite wrong options? Yes.
And we've heard so many of those stories of people making a misstep when it comes to this. Good to have somebody on your side who's gone through this before. The math here is kind of difficult. Let's leave it to people who've been in retirement and doing retirement for a number of years. You're going to do this once. Jay's doing it hundreds of times. So let's lean on some of that. Give Jay a call if that's one of your questions. I'm going into retirement with this huge 401k. I don't want to get pounded in taxes. What do I do? Great question. Let's get it underway. 210-985-6200 is the number. It's a no cost, no obligation look at your retirement. Really, it's a conversation to find out where you are and what your questions are. It's 210-985-6200. You can also use the website retire210.com. There's a place for you to put some information in there. The team reaches out to you. Again, 210-985-6200. We're going to take a break, come right back. Are you figuring out what date you want to retire? Do you have a year? Do you have an age? Do you have a month? Well, sometimes those things work, and sometimes they don't. We'll talk about it coming up next on Clear Skies Retirement.